Guys, I am putting on a strategy class for creative strategists who want to try to figure out how to get more out of your creative team. A lot of times businesses start out and they just want leads, but then they get to this point where they're like, hey, the just spending money for leads and doing SEO isn't really building momentum for us. And so they start thinking, hey, why don't we start leading thought? Why don't we create a brand and build an identity? And so here's a piece of that next step. And I just want to go over a couple creative briefs with you. In this case, one creative brief to show you how much fun we're going to have as we go through our free class on strategy, creative strategy. So let's look at this. Let's look at this brief. Oh my goodness. Already I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, man, what a dumpster fire. This is actually one I wrote for a major, I was a part of. My name wasn't on it to go to the client, but that I collaborated on for a big bike manufacturer that we all know. But I changed the names to protect the guilty. And so let's look through this. Let's look through this brief real quick, and I'm going to tell you my opinion on it. All right. So first of all, the background. The background, I'm like, dude, this adds to the confusion. Don't have a background section in the creative brief. Have your conclusions. What this creative brief represents is the inability to close the loop. The strategy was not done when this creative brief was written. We're going to see some examples of that. But I hate this section. It adds to the confusion. It's been 4 years since the release of the original bike, right? We're talking about. And so nobody cares about that. Don't put that in the brief, build it in. Build it into a shorter brief. You can see this brief is like almost more than 2 pages. It should only be like 2 pages. It should only be 1 page. All right, so let's look at this. Audience, group rides. They like group rides and enjoy pushing their limits. And immediately I'm like, all right, are we going someplace specific here? Or are we going to keep dancing around this for the whole brief? I'm already seeing bad signs. When I see this, I'm already like, my spidey senses are tingling. These aren't related enough to create a strong brief. They're not related enough. Group rides and pushing their physical limits. Is that a thing? Is that one thing, or is that many things? Is that like, oh, they like this and then they like this? And are we serving them a junk list of just things they like? Are we tying this into something and making one coherent thought? And the problem with a lot of ads is that they depend on video, and that's what this is. It depends on video and not copy. And so the problem is it's philosophically weak, and you're not tying it into one single idea that can be shown and talked about and quantified that's real, right? And so, yeah, they're not related enough. I was on this. And so this is really, I'm calling myself out on this because I didn't push back very hard on this brief. All right, what else? It says rides solo occasionally, but really motivated by small group rides with 3 to 4 friends. And this is what I'd want to dig into. It says they're really motivated by small group rides with 3 to 4 friends. Now, what I would want to do, especially with a company with this budget, in the real company with this budget, I would want to go and I'd want to talk to bike riders, and I'd want to start asking them about, like, tell me about your normal ride. I bet that's fun. Yeah, that sounds cool. And then let them start to unpack things. And what I'm looking for is for them to give me a little more information about what they're looking for and what they really enjoy. And I want to hear that. And I want to see the excitement in their face. Because right now I'm just hearing a junk drawer of stuff. Yeah, they ride solo occasionally, but they're really motivated by small group rides with 3 to 4 friends. Okay, make that real to me. Like, that's fine, but it feels like 2 things that are unrelated. The copywriter and the creative team has to have a better sense of the why. And right now we're just saying what they like, and we're not really tying it in very well. And so here's what I wrote. Why can't we dig a little deeper into this? If that's the connection, let's connect it. Let's make the connection. Let's complete the loop. What else does it say under the audience? We're focusing on the core target because we believe this will allow us to reach the weekend warrior volume target along with it. Okay, so here's my problem with this. This is about the brand. This is about the marketing team, and it's not about the audience, right? Or sorry. Yeah, it's about what the marketing team wants. And I don't care what they want. As a planner, I don't care what the brand wants. Like, of course I'm working from that, right? I know, we care about what they want. But as a planner, I'm not trying to tell the copywriters, oh, here's the real reason they want this. No, I'm building it in and I'm creating a clear view of what they need to write. All I need to know, all I need to tell the writers is what is it we're selling? And say that in a way that connects it with the audience. Who's it for? So who is this audience for? Give me an example of a person. Tell me about their life. Give me a snapshot of their life where it's like, hey, they work super hard all week. Saturday mornings though, man, they have a trip lined out with the guys. You know, these Silicon Valley executives are so busy, but they carve out this time Saturday morning, right? And we're all like, oh yeah, okay, so that's Mark Zuckerberg or whatever. And we're trying to like paint a picture of them. Or maybe someone more real, like, hey, they're local business people, right? And they, you know, when I was in Eugene, Oregon, right? When I was teaching at Oregon, you know, we lived in Eugene. We had these groups that would go running together, and there would be these executives, and they would be part of the Prefontaine Club or something like that. Tell me something like that that'll paint a picture for me and help me understand who these people are. Like, what's their age? I want to know their age. That's not in here. That's a totally marketing media thing to know, and it's not even in here. I don't even know who these people are. I'm imagining a couple of guys who get out there and ride, but I need to know more. I don't need to know like, oh, what are we trying to do? What's our marketing scheme? What's our behind the scenes strategy we're trying to do? It's like, don't tell me that stupid crap. Like, seriously, that's Hallmark Channel crap. That's not real marketing. And that's what this feels like. Oh, we're, you know, dude, like amateur hour, right? And so let's keep going. Insight. Cycling has evolved from traditional racing to longer distance rides focused on the experience. Okay, I'll take that. Cyclists are seeking out unique riding experience. Unique? Like that doesn't tell me anything. Unique riding experience, tall climbs, steep descents, multiple riding really? Multiple riding surfaces? Like, so tell me, how is this the thing? Like, to me, I'm like, okay, like this is a multi-purpose bike. Tell me why this is the greatest multi-purpose bike for these people. And I'm not seeing that anywhere yet. So, and what I wrote here, I don't believe you. Is there evidence? This may be a trend, but how am I supposed to sell this to them? Am I supposed to say, the trend is this, and I don't know why, but it seems like you should buy this bike based on that? As a copywriter, come on. All right, let me slow down for a second here. Apex is a versatile, which is, by the way, versatile is hardly ever compelling to anybody. Versatile is way too easy to say. Everybody can say it. It's not specific enough and nobody believes you. A versatile and high performance bike. Versatile and high performance? Dude, like, where's this tied to the needs of the audience? Created for those demanding rides. All right, cool. What did I say? Other bikes can't handle demanding things? This is such an unfocused sentence. Feels like we're trying to please the marketing person who knows nothing about the audience. I'll just be honest, that's what I'm feeling right now. All right, competition. This belongs in the competitive analysis, not in the creative brief. You should have already figured this out as the planner, as the strategist, and you should be giving the copywriter, especially on something this big. Now, let me tell you, the brief isn't for, you don't have to be this precise for every single thing, every single creative brief, every single small project. This is a big project. This is a national brand, and they have money, and they should have the ability to do research, and they should have insights that can be put into this, and they're not. And so, and they're not processing this. Competition, that should be something the strategist worries about on the back end of this. Don't give the copywriter competition. What you should be doing is saying, here's how I almost said the name. Here's how the Apex is positioned among other bikes. And here's where it stands out based on a competitive analysis. And so, well, you know, to be fair, let's see if they do that here. Specialized I don't even know how to say that. It's a French name, looks like. Marketing campaigns, smoother is faster, proclaims the smoothness aids in traction, which in turn aids in speed as it keeps the tires better seated to the ground. Okay. That's a really good position probably to have, right? But here's the problem. They're giving me the competition's position and they're expecting me to tie it in as a writer. So how is the writer supposed to interpret this? The strategist should have already provided the interpretation. They should have already gone through the competition. Did I say the strategist? Should have already gone through the competition and processed this down to, here's where this bike stands out. and they haven't done that. They're giving us competition. That's a bunch of crap. They're not doing their job. It's like they don't understand the research. So they're saying, here's some info. Good luck, creatives. Here's some info. I don't love this. All right, unique selling proposition. Okay, here's some we can use, right? So they give you two, direction A and direction B. Or you could take this direction, or you can take this direction, right? Out of all the competition, ATEX is the most versatile. Out of all the competition, ATEX is the most accessible. So I'm like, which is it? Dear strategist, make the damn decision. The strategist makes this decision. It's not the creatives who make the decision about what the business intelligence and the research says. The strategist is familiar with the research. They're familiar with the theory. They should be making this decision. All right. And they should never leave it to the writer. Not because the writer's not smart, competent, or anything like that. It's because of the planner's job. They're hired to do this. They should be good at it. They should be good at processing this stuff down to where it's a coherent, linear story at this point. And I know you're like, oh, creatives are lateral thinkers, Okay, great. But they're not lateral. Ask me how I know. They're not lateral when it comes to understanding the problem. They need a clear problem space. And all the research says that the best creatives thrive on a clear, tight problem space. You're not giving a clear, tight problem space. You're making the creative choose between more than two directions. Everything, all these attributes in here should support whatever one of these the strategist should have chosen. So whatever the strategist should have chosen, they shouldn't tell us anything except for what supports these unique selling proposition, that unique selling proposition, that reason that the customer should buy this bike. Let me say that if you don't have a research budget, it's fine to write a brief without having done all this research. What you want to do is you still want to be singular and focused and linear in the brief, and then say why you think the things that you think, and paint a picture of that person, and at least have it be internally coherent. And so that when the writer and the creative team looks at it, they see something they see a clear problem they can solve. They're solving one problem, not many problems. All right. I'd say I'm getting off the soapbox, but you know what? I've only just begun, y'all. All right. Most versatile. Let's see if I already said this. Yeah. There's this freaking unhelpful word again. Versatile. It's just not strong. It's not a strong marketing position unless all your competition is known for being unversatile and your audience is desperate for versatility. And that's what you've heard in all the research, that they're like, nothing else is versatile, right? Customers hardly ever use words like versatile in what they need and what they're trying to get. Stay away from it. It's a garbage word. I just remember doing brand workshops, and clients are like, we're this, we're that, we're this other thing. And then I had a creative director who was so excited. He's like, wow, it really sounds like you guys are saying, versatile, and I'm like, no, do not encourage them, right? Don't encourage them. And he was a creative director. He wasn't a strategist. But I'm like, dude, as a writer, how am I supposed to write versatile and make it interesting? It's really hard because people don't believe that word. As I said before, it's like the highest quality. It's like saying that, right? It's just it's such low hanging fruit that everybody says it, and therefore nobody believes it. It's not interesting. What does this say? Comfortable enough for all day rides, yet with the performance and weight of an elite racing bike. Okay, I'm okay with comfortable enough for all day rides. That could be the real competitive advantage, comfortable. But whenever you see this, any kind of conjunction like yet, or and, or anything like that, be really skeptical in the creative brief. Comfortable enough for all day rides, great. Yet with the performance and weight of an elite racing bike. Does anybody believe that? That it has all the things, right? It's like when people are like, wow, it's quality, service and price, right? Wow. And it's like, no, you choose, every project manager knows you choose two of those. You can have two of those. Quality, timeline, price. You can't have everything. And nobody believes claims that say you can have everything. Wow, gee, you can have everything. You can't have it all. No, it's not a believable claim, and it's lazy strategy, and it leads to writing that just looks lazy. Yep, I already said that. Primary message. Okay, maybe we're getting somewhere here, and I would have put this at the very top of the brief. Primary message, at the very top of the brief. It's not the first thing in the process of creating the brief, but it should be the top of the brief, because keep in mind, a copywriter and a creative team, they're gonna be looking at this, working on it. They might go home, go to bed, come back to the office or whatever, and then they're looking at this brief again. And you want them to be able to absorb the whole brief, which is why a one-page brief makes the most sense. You don't want them to have to read a bunch of stuff and then have details that they could miss. And that's another reason why you want this to be so incredibly linear. Now, think about this, the creative process. The creative process works like this. And a lot of people think the incubation step, you guys have all heard, oh, you work on a problem and then you go to sleep and your subconscious mind works on the problem. And then you wake up the next day and you have more clarity. Well, what really happens, and it's a much simpler explanation, is that your subconscious mind forgets things that don't seem related to the core principle or argument you're making. And so they're going to come in the next day and they're going to say, okay, well, we have all these, creative mandatories, right? We have all these mandatories that are like things that you have to tell us because they won't naturally happen with the brief, which is, to me, it's horrible. The fewer mandatories you can get, the better. We will talk about that in the strategy class, in the creative brief class. So primary message, cool. Well, let's take a look, because this is promising. They're going to tell us the primary message that we need to get across, and it's going to bring everything together for us. And it's going to help us to know to cross out all this other crap up here and just pay attention to this. And then only the supporting things that support this main message. So let's take a look. Apex is the bike for cyclists rewarded by challenging riding experiences. Wait a second. So first of all, they just gave us 2 directions for unique selling proposition. And then they're like, challenging riding experiences. What they're giving us is kind of like 1, 2, 3 of the same thing, only this one's not very specific. Challenging riding experiences. But what the heck does that mean? Like a long race is challenging, an uphill sprint, or, sprints challenging, an uphill is challenging, windy roads are challenging, rough surfaces are challenging. What are we talking about here? That seems pretty vague to me, which is why I said, well, that narrows it down, because I'm being super sarcastic and I'm not sorry. Okay, reasons to believe. I have no problem with this. This is a really good section to have in a creative brief, especially if you're introducing. So, people buy benefits or values, right? Like closely held values. They don't buy attributes usually. And so when clients are lazy, they're just like, we don't want to do the research. We just want to tell people what we do. And it's like, we're the best. We do this, we do that, right? And when they talk all about the bike in this case, what they need to be talking about is the lifestyle of the person, tying it into the person so that it becomes a benefit to that person, so that you can write copy and build creative that connects with them, connects with the person, inspires them based on who they are and exactly their situation in life, to bring them forward, to elevate them. And so the reasons to believe section is actually important. That's where we should be talking about the bike, is in the reasons to believe section. We should be talking about how the bike supports and fulfills that promise that we made earlier in the brief. Okay, so let's look at what we have here. Performance, lighter, stiffer, and faster. You know what? I'm bored. Lightest weight Apex ever. Nobody cares about that unless they're already an Apex rider. And but a lot of these people, I think, nobody said these are previous Apex buyers. Nobody said that yet. All we've heard is that it's for these people who want challenging and uphill and versatile and all this other stuff. Here's where we should be talking about versatile and then backing that up. And then up here in the primary message, the single most important thought, we should be talking about the change in their life that's going to happen when they buy this versatile bike, how the versatility of this bike, which I said already, I hate that. But whenever they say the main message is, challenging riding experiences. Okay. So versatility of this bike should support this idea of challenging riding experiences. but we're not showing that we really know anything about the customer yet, because we're all over the place. We're not showing that we really know how the bike supports that. We're all over the place. And so what I'm trying to figure out is what's that thread that will pull everything together and will allow me to go through this brief and cross out 90% of the crap that I've chosen to add to this brief. So now we have some stuff that's a little more like emotional takeaway, empowering sense of accomplishment, because the challenging rides, that goes with challenging rides. Tone, inspirational, optimistic. So here's what's going on here. I'm starting to see what's going on here. And what's going on here is this is for a video. And so what they're doing is they're leaning on the power of video to create these tones, rather than the power of having a tight philosophy and a tight argument you make to people that will connect with them. Instead, we're saying, okay, we're going to make an ad that's really general, that like you could replace the bike footage. You could probably replace it with a car footage, and it would be the same, because the strength of the ad is emotion, the empowering sense of accomplishment, inspirational, optimistic. The problem with this is that your copy and your creative are going to be super weak and unstrategic. I'm just super disappointed in this brief, right? It's going to be super, it's going to be a more vague emotions rather than a really tight argument that really connects with people's motivation. We don't even know their motivation. All we know is somehow we're going to empower and inspire them. So we're probably going to be leaning on just some good photography direction, good video production, and we're going to hope for the best, right? Because we don't really have a lot here. Storytelling, visceral VO about the inspiration of cycling. What? The inspiration of cycling? Why did we talk about all these things if all we're going to do is just be like, it's about cycling? Maybe we have like an attribute of the bike at the end or something. I can't remember what I saw the final creative, and it was good, because the guy who I wrote this brief for is killer. He's a killer creative director. So, never say the word comfort. Cool. That's a good mandatory. I think I'll accept that as a mandatory. Stay away from that comfort. But then we have smooth. Comfort can be communicated through language like smooth, which we already said was what the competition relied on. Smoother is faster kind of thing. So, design, comfort, design, where was I? Oh yeah, down here. Optional. Apex features, weight, stiffness found in reason, whatever. So I'm not stoked about this brief. I think it's a weak brief. I think it's everywhere. It's scattered. And if I got this brief and I was given a perfect world, I would say, okay, I want to talk to 10 to 15 people who we think would ride this bike. And I want to sit there and talk with them, and I want to video the conversation. I just want to ask them questions and take it easy, have some coffee, relax for a minute. And I just want to ask them about their riding experience. Like, tell me about what got you into riding, right? Get them to start telling a story. Once the ship gets moving, I can steer the ship, but I need to get it moving. So get them talking. And then I'm not trying to steer them to anything except for the topic. All I'm trying to do is say, tell me. Basically what I'm asking them without asking them is I'm saying, tell me answers to questions I didn't even know I needed to ask. You tell me, you define for me what your experience is like and what you're looking for. Because I want to hear your language. I don't want to hear freaking versatile. I want to hear the language that you use. I want to hear the thoughts that you have. I want to hear the problems that you experience when you're riding your bike. I want to know the problem that this bike solves. And I'm not going to ask you about the bike. I'm not going to ask you about this bike. I just want to know about your experience. And then I'm going to take those insights, and I'm for sure going to find things that the brand doesn't know about these riders. Because I'm absolutely sure, looking at this brief, they know hardly anything about their riders. I can tell you that right now. The strategist did not know anything about the riders. I'm going to bring that back to them, and I'm going to tell them, here are the problems. Now, I want you to tell me what attributes of the bike solve this problem. Because we heard these problems. I may even ask them, hey, there are two problems that I think are huge. Which problem is solved by this bike? And then I'll let them tell me that. And then I'm going to write a brief around that. And then I'm going to go through, I'm going to cross out everything in here that doesn't talk about the benefit to the rider and the bike that delivers it. I'm going to cross out everything that doesn't say, what are we selling in terms of, and I'm going to describe it only in ways that this audience member is going to care about. Who is it for? I'm going to write a demographic. I'm going to write a persona, and I'm going to write a Meet Maria, which is kind of a snapshot of their life so that the writer can picture the person and connect it to somebody they know in life, that they can imagine who they're writing to. And then I'm going to say, why does it matter to them? Why does this bike matter to them? And then I might have a section on reasons to believe. I think that's a good section, but it's going to be reasons, only the reasons, the attributes of the bike that are associated with, that prove the promise that we're making to them, whatever that promise is. And that's it. And then the writer and the designer are going to come up with concepts. They're not going to be drowning in conflicting information and, choose this or that. They're going to have a linear argument that we're making based on real information out there in the world from these people who ride the bikes. And then they're going to take that and they're going to start ideating. They're going to start writing concepts and headlines, and they're going to start wireframing, and they're going to have some really killer ideas that are on strategy that are going to connect with the people who are going to buy this bike because we've talked to them and because we know how they think, and it's going to connect. And all we're doing is common sense stuff. We're just building the strategy based on information that's out there, what we know about the bike, and how we can compete. That's it. So I hope this has been fun. We're going to do not a copywriting class. It was originally going to be a copywriting class. And then I realized we don't need more copy. We need more competent strategists who can actually write these briefs well. And so I'm going to explain stuff. We're going to go through, and I'm going to explain exactly how to write a brief. I'm going to explain common misconceptions. We're going to go over the 10 commandments of the creative brief. And then how do I know all this stuff? I don't know. I was a writer, very frustrated by having incomplete strategies, but then being blamed for not knowing. And so I got into strategy a little bit because I'm like, I understand the needs of writers and creative teams. And then I wrote my thesis, on the creative process because I wanted to prove it. And I wanted to talk to people and get out there and prove that a tight solution space and a really well-crafted brief with research, preferably, is where you get the best creative. Because the best creatives, the best writers and designers thrive on having a tight solution space, having clarity. And then the ads get a lot of focus too. They get a lot more focus. And so they do a lot more work. And when you do your media buy, you're not buying these huge buys. You're buying the buy that makes sense based on this demographic and this group of users. And so your lifetime value, your cost per lifetime value of your client is going to be a lot lower. Your cost per client based on the lifetime value, cost per client is going to be a lot lower, right? And so, and this is all part of a bigger thing too. It's all part of a bigger process where you do a situation analysis, you identify your target audience, you write the creative brief after doing research, you write the media plan, you build the creative, and you measure. And so it's not rocket science, right? It's not anything that's super hard to understand. It's just some really common sense principles that work in the real world. And so if you're a strategist and you're interested in joining us, I'd love to have you. And more details to come. Keep an eye out. But thanks for joining me, and we will talk to you soon.